Welcome to Wildlife at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo. I'm Dr. Larry Killmar, Vice President of Animal Science and Conservation, and today we have a very unique program. We're going to talk about a true treasure of Florida. I'm with Virginia, who is the animal care manager for this section of the zoo, and we're in front of the Florida Panther exhibit. In Virginia, this species highly endangered, less than 200 probably left in the world, and unique to Florida in many senses. But you take care of this animal. You and your staff take care of this animal daily, and Lucy is our ambassador here at the zoo. And I just want you to tell us, tell us about Lucy. Tell us a little bit about her history, and some of the interesting parts of managing an animal of this rarity.
Yeah, Lucy, I like to say, is 1 in 100.
Yeah,
and she really is, and she's really special, beautiful animal. Came to the zoo about 7 years ago. She'll have her birthday on July 3rd.
Oh.
And she was a rescued orphan kitten in the wild. Her great-grandmother, is actually one of the founders of the cougars that came to Florida, one of the 8 that came to Florida to help repopulate and help create some diversity with some of the animals that the population was getting so small, and there was some inbreeding going on. The animals weren't very healthy. They brought in some animals in 1995, 8 females, bred with some of the panthers here in Florida, and Lucy's one of those. Her great-grandmother was one of those original animals, so she's a real miracle.
A fascinating story. I mean, there's a lot of controversy about is this a true subspecies or not, but all those arguments aside, we're managing as if it is a true subspecies. And certainly, again, an animal unique to this state, and one that we all have to play a part in protecting, because the number one reason this animal is in jeopardy at this point is basically the interaction with humans, whether it be a vehicle, they get hit on roads or so on and so forth. And that's our responsibility. We've got to be careful when we're going through these habitats that we're not endangering these animals. But she came to us because she was abandoned by her mother. Is that correct, if I remember correctly?
Yeah. She was in a litter with 3 other kittens, and when they first went to check on the litter, they saw that Lucy was actually the strongest, healthiest of the litter. And when they came back to check on the litter, she was then all by herself in there, abandoned, and not doing well at all, so she had to be removed. They found out later the mom was still with the other kittens and that they survived. There was some concern that maybe the others hadn't even survived, but they did. And then Lucy came to us, and she's been with us ever since and has been a treasure.
Well, they start off spotted. These cats are spotted when they're born, and they have blue eyes, and then the eyes turn to a yellowish cast. And of course, now when you see Lucy as a full adult, she's a magnificent animal, a great representative here at the zoo. We dedicate space in the zoo for Florida Panther, and if anything, Lucy is the ambassador for all the other panthers that are in the wild at this point. So the population's still very precarious at less than 200. A lot of efforts going on by Florida Wildlife Commission to make sure we ensure good habitat for this animal so it can expand over time in its natural surroundings. So what does Lucy eat here when she's at the zoo? What's her diet?
Yeah, Lucy's obviously a meat eater, and her favorite is rabbit. We get our rabbits in frozen, so we just thaw them out. And she also gets rats and quail. And those things she likes those whole animal foods the most. She gets a processed meat diet that's made specifically for wild cats in captivity, but her favorites are definitely the whole foods. And she does the normal, you see your cat at home play with a toy mouse. She picks up her rat or her rabbit and tosses it around a little bit and plays with it too before she takes off its head.
Well, and that's what all part of being a wild panther is all about. So the next time you're at the zoo, you walk through our Florida area, and about halfway through you see the panther exhibit just opposite the alligators. So stop by and enjoy Lucy and read all about the conservation efforts that we're doing here at Lowry Park as well as in Florida with this very rare species.
I'm Dr. Trevor Gerlach. I'm the new associate veterinarian here at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo, and this is our 9-week-old Florida Panther kitten that we've been taking care of. So the kitten was found at about a week of age down in Naples by biologists at Florida Fish and Wildlife. He was found basically abandoned by the mothers, lethargic and cold, and so was taken to a local small animal facility where he was triaged and basically treated for 3 weeks to get him back on his feet. He arrived here at Lowry Park at about 3 to 4 weeks of age, where we kind of took over his 24-hour care. And since then, he's basically just been round-the-clock feedings and monitoring, and we've been watching him develop throughout the time. He came in at about 2.8 pounds, and now at 9 weeks, he's just over 10 pounds. So pretty much at this stage, he's just all growth and play. So when the kitten came to us, he was on a diet that was pretty much consisting of just powdered artificial milk formula called Esbalac. It's something that we give dogs and kittens. And he was on that for approximately 6 weeks or so before we transitioned him onto a meat-based diet. We transitioned him over a week or two, and now he's pretty much eating 100% meat. And so he's now bounding as far as weights and size go. He's kind of really taken off on us. We've backed off on how often we're having to feed him, so he goes about 6 to 8 hours now between feedings. So today we brought the kitten outside, and this is one of his first experiences outside, and so as you can imagine, there's lots of new sights and sounds, and everything's new to him and exciting. He's been in our clinic for about 9 weeks now, and in the wild this is pretty kind of consistent with what Mom would do, so she would hide him away in a den for a couple months or so as he's growing and she's out hunting, and she'd come back intermittently to feed him. So we've kind of mimicked that with our care with him in the clinic, and now we're kind of venturing him outside to get used to the sights and sounds, because he'll be in an outdoor enclosure at his new facility. So the plans for the kitten, he basically will stay with us for approximately another week or so, and then at 10 to 11 weeks he'll transition up to Homosassa State Wildlife Park, which is about an hour and a half north of here, and he will be on exhibit there, and he'll serve as an ambassador for his species. So he's non-releasable in the wild, but he will serve a very important purpose, educating people on the plight of the Florida panther.
We're in our hospital clinic, and I'm with one of our veterinary fellows. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Dr. Ashley Barrett-Clough, and I'm here through a veterinary fellowship program.
And Ashley helped us with the management of the latest Panther kitten that we got just a few months ago, another case of an abandonment. And we were called to assist in the raising of this kitten during its very important few weeks before we then sent the animal up to Homosassa as its final location. So the doctor was helping in raising and caring for that kitten. So what were some of the daily routines with an animal this young that you participated in?
So when he first arrived, he was actually requiring feeding every 2 hours. So we had to bottle feed him really frequently. It was really important that his blood glucose stayed at a normal level. So we were feeding him throughout the night. So we took it in turns to take him home to look after him and make sure that he got his regular feedings. We found that he actually fed a lot better overnight because there were a lot less distractions for him than during the day. So it was really important for us to continue with the feedings every 2 hours.
So that has its challenges in itself because, again, it's 24-hour care and it has to be under the care of a veterinarian, again, during these very important first weeks. So what were some of those challenges? I mean, I know probably having the animal in the home was a challenge in itself, but were there any other medical issues that you had to deal with, or was this cat pretty healthy?
For the most part, he was pretty healthy. Obviously, we didn't know how much of immunity he'd managed to obtain from his mother before we got him, so we had to make sure that he wasn't exposed to anything that he shouldn't be, so it was always trying to keep him away from any other animals. We really did try and strive to ensure that he was kind of kept in a safe environment at all times. As far as the timings of the feedings were concerned, we really balanced it out between the 3 vets, and we did take it in turns to take him home, so that obviously working a 10-hour shift at the zoo and then doing overnight feedings would get exhausting if you were doing it on your own. So we did share the workload there.
Well, again, this kitten was, the way we understand it, abandoned by mother, pulled by Florida Wildlife Commission biologists who made the right call because the animal was starting to show some signs of stress because mother had left the area. So again, one of the roles we play here is not only the medical support for such an operation, but also the fact that we can house the animal here temporarily in this case until it's ready then to move on to its final home. And again, a highly endangered species, so all efforts to make sure that we're providing the best possible care for this animal. So before the animal left here, it had to get a series of vaccinations, correct? So what was that regime?
So we vaccinated him against rabies and against the normal feline vaccines that we would give. He had to have 3 courses of the vaccines. So because he was growing so quickly, we actually gave him the first 2 courses here. And then once he transitioned up to Homosassa, we then went up there and gave him the final course when he was already adjusting to his now permanent habitat.
So as a veterinary fellow, you probably didn't realize you'd have an opportunity to work with such a highly endangered animal, in the first few months that you're with us. I mean, that is certainly providing medical care for all of our animals is important, but when the pressure's on, I guess, when you have an endangered animal like this, I'm sure that's got to be in the back of your mind.
I mean, I think it is at the back of your mind, but at the end of the day, we have to treat him as any other animal in the sense of he needs the regular care, and we kind of treat everybody the same, I suppose, from that perspective. But it was such a privilege to be able to work with such an endangered species and be so hands-on with an animal that a lot of people don't even get to see in the wild, never mind actually work with. So.
Well, very good point. I mean, the fact that we would even get the opportunity to see this animal in its native habitat is you'd be lucky at best. So again, Lowry Park played an important role in making sure this animal moved from the wild, protected, nourished, then vaccinated and moved on to its final home. So this animal now is at Homosassa State Park and will live there as Lucy does at the zoo as an ambassador for this species. So I'm with Dr. Ray Ball, Director of Medical Sciences for Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo. And Ray, we want to talk about the big picture now with Florida Panthers. We've talked about Lucy, we've talked about the kitten that came through that's now at Homosassa, and certainly you've played an integral role now in doing census with panthers for the last several years in the wild, trying to determine exactly how many animals are out there. So from your perspective, let's start with the census that you do. I think it's 3 times, or you do 3 stints in 1 year, I believe, on field work. So tell us the reason for those census and basically what you're trying to capture from each cat that you do get.
Right. From roughly October, November up until February, we're involved in the field capture season for Florida Panthers. There's a team of biologists and houndsmen and veterinary team. We go down and we track the panthers and we capture them. There's a lot of biological information we get from that, a lot of morphometrics and health parameters too. Historically, they've had some health concerns. So we do infectious disease screening right in the field, just overall health assessments, and the biologists will put collars on them and they'll track them. It's from this tracking and from den cameras and other camera traps that they're able to get all this information to lead us to believe that the panthers are making some comeback in South Florida. So they are starting to improve.
Good. Well, yeah, again, you can see how important this is, and you have to have a veterinarian on these capture teams in order to do this assessment. So in this process, have you ever captured the same animal? I mean, you collar them, correct? So have they ever been captured twice? You got one animal 2 times in one of your stints?
There is one animal that we have recaptured, and that's actually part of the plan, that every year that they know the lifespan of the collars is limited. So we'll have to change collars and replace batteries and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And it's also a good follow-up. This particular cat is known to be in a certain area. She's in good condition. That infers that that's good habitat. Okay. So there's a lot of information we get on recaptures as well.
So we read a lot that the biggest issue with Florida Panther is man's intervention, whether it be an accidental vehicle strike or whatever might be going on. Are you seeing any, in your experience, any disease issues that might be of concern long term for this small population of wild animals?
Actually, no. In my experience, the panthers that I've handled and seen are actually quite healthy. They're very vigorous, very robust. Yeah. It is the man-made issues that seem to be the pressing issue right now. The hit by cars. Mm-hmm. Even the male aggressions can be indirectly related to crowding. And again, that could be the influence of limited habitat and space.
Right. Yeah, I think it is important. We can't remind ourselves enough that while Florida has a lot of open space, it's still very limiting for an animal of this behavior that has to roam many, many miles in a territory. Males roam very far as a territory, so you start to bump that too close together and you do get these conflicts. So what would appear to be a large acreages for cats may not be, in essence, and that's the part that in these kinds of studies and these kinds of participations that we do, we help gather that data so that we can assess over time, are we losing habitat, gaining cats, losing cats, and then what are the disease issues that might be prevalent. Any interesting humorous stories during one of your field operations?
Not really. They're pretty straightforward and benign, except, when the veterinarian glues his eye shut in the procedure. Yeah. Those kind of things do happen, unfortunately. It does happen. Yes, I did glue my eye shut during one of the procedures. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember the phone call. I was trying not to laugh too much. But yeah, stuff happens, as they say. But in the big picture then, are you optimistic about the recovery? I mean, recovery of this animal, hundreds are going to have to be, if not thousands, in the wild before we could ever really take our eye off of this. But are you optimistic the future looks good for the Florida Panther?
I am, actually, and I've been following Florida Panther rehabilitation and recovery. I went to the University of Florida. I had a small role as a student. I knew the numbers and the challenges that they have. So to see those numbers improve in my lifetime as a professional, it actually is encouraging. To have the opportunity to go in the field and see how vigorous and robust these individuals are is more encouraging. Yeah. And as they, work more with landowners, agricultural interests, cattle ranchers, things like this, to get better understanding, I think the future is good for these cats. I think they'll learn to share the land, and Florida Panthers will keep expanding.
Good. Well, that's encouraging. So you can see that Lowry Park plays a vital role not only in exhibiting an ambassador of this species, helping transition a kitten that was recently neglected by its mother and now in a new home, as well as gathering the scientific data that will help us assess 10 years from now whether we're making a difference or not. So again, next time you're at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo, go through our Florida area and take a look at Lucy. And this is the story behind Lucy and the Florida Panther and what Lowry Park provides for this endangered species.
Today we're up checking on the Florida Panther that was rescued in the Adlands of the Big Cypress Swamp. It was sent to Naples, the Animal Specialty Clinic, and then spent about 7 weeks at Lowry Park Zoo. He's come to Homosassa for about a month now, and we're doing his last vaccine series. He's getting his rabies and the last of his feline leukemia and his upper respiratory infection. It was decided that this orphan cub would come to Homosassa as his permanent residence. One is that it's another state park, and they've been a good partner with Florida wildlife for years and years. They have proven themselves in the past. They have an outstanding habitat for this little guy. And they're partners with us at Lowry Park Zoo. We take care of all the medical needs for Homosassa Springs. You know, when this little cub first came to us in Lowry Park, he was not quite 5 pounds. Today he's almost 18. He's starting to have his spots fade as well too. He's a little over 16 weeks old. That's why he's old enough to get his rabies vaccines. So you can tell he's growing up quite nicely. He's very fit.
This is a state park, and we focus on, this is like a wildlife refuge. So where animals can't live in the wild, they come here because they've been hurt or imprinted on people, and they serve as ambassadors for their kind, where the public can learn about them and learn conservation ways to help them in the wild. So this is the habitat that's going to be the new Florida Panther kitten's habitat as soon as he's ready. Kind of waiting for him to grow and feel comfortable. We're transitioning him, making sure that he's comfortable. But this is where Yuma, and that's his name, Yuma. And that name, we had a submission of over 100 names that came into the park, and we narrowed it down to a few, and then we had kind of a secret ballot vote, and Yuma was the selection. And Yuma stands for Native American chief's son of the chief. So we thought that was pretty special because he is like a prince, like royalty, so it seemed appropriate. Right now we're getting him comfortable. He comes at 10:30 and 2:30 for about 30 minutes apiece in that back area where visitors can see him play. And as he gets bigger and more comfortable, we'll transition him out into the larger habitat. And then once he's probably about 6 months old, he'll be out here permanently for visitors to come visit, weather permitting, every day. People want to search for floridastateparks.org. They'll get a list of all the state parks. Just pick Ellie Schiller, Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park, and it'll take you to our website and give all the latest information about Yuma and all the other animals on display.
The outlook for this cub is actually very, very good. This is a spectacular home for him. He'll be a wonderful ambassador for Florida Panthers, and I think he'll have a long, healthy life here.
I'm standing right in front of our hospital that's under construction right now, and in the next few months these facilities will be complete. And on a future show, we'll do a tour inside of these facilities and show you our state-of-the-art medical facility and commissary. Thank you for joining me today on Wildlife at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo.